Well, welcome to episode 26 of Lakeshore Christian Church's Midweek podcast. I'm Pastor Randy Cordell. We're coming to you live from our studio at our Antioch campus here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Each week we plan to talk about all things Lakeshore on a regular basis. We'll have guests come in on the podcast and interview them. We'll tell you about things that are coming up here at the church and things going on in the community. I want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You might want to hit that notification bell too. You'll get notifications when we do post a new one. We come to you live on Wednesdays at noon, but of course then it's posted and you can listen to it, watch anytime after that on one of your favorite podcast platforms. My guest today for the podcast is Adam French. He is the Family and Church Outreach Director with Men of Valor. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and relish any opportunity I get to talk about what God's doing at Men of Valor.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like for people to start out with getting to know you a little better. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, and maybe when you came to Nashville and all that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Puryear, Tennessee, which is in...
I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's next to Paris. I don't know if you live between the lakes area.
Yeah.
And just grew up out in the country and was a country boy. And it's a very long story, but my mom and my father struggled with addiction and alcoholism, and I followed in the footsteps and got into a life of dealing drugs and really just in survival mode, and that's what led me to the Nashville area. Actually, had gotten in some charges, got indicted, and went to jail, and they let me furlough out, and I came to North First Street to the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
And spent 6 months. But the day that I got there, it was on a Monday, and that Tuesday morning, Long Hollow Church in Hendersonville, Tennessee, brought Celebrate Recovery out there.
Right.
And that's my connection with them is the reason why I've been here ever since. So almost 15 years ago.
Right. God just orchestrated all of that to have that there when you needed it. That
yes, right at the right time.
Yeah, we appreciate Long Hollow and all the programs they do there. They have a great outreach, and Celebrate Recovery is a great program too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that Men of Valor is where you're connected now. Tell us a little bit about how it started and how you connected there as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say this. I was always, doing ministry at the church, but one of my, I don't know, I guess as a pastor, you always want to have the opportunity to love people in secret, and not necessarily secret, but just ministry on the side that's not necessarily public. And I've always was working with men who were struggling with addictions and things like that. And I happened to work with a gentleman who was transitioning his life. He was wanting to move away from the drug life, the dealing drugs and so forth. And while I was in a D group discipling him with some other guys, he got in trouble, and it was pretty public. And I spoke out for him and took a lot of heat for it. But when I spoke out for him, Kurt Campbell from Men of Valor called me and said, "Hey, you go to Long Hollow, I go to Long Hollow, you're on staff there. I've been wanting to have a connection." Yeah. And so that's where I first started having a relationship with them, and Long Hollow got involved. And so the way that Men of Valor started is our founder, Carl Carlson, 25 years ago is when he founded it. But Carl grew up in a really rough life, an orphan, bounced around, lots of violence, lots of addiction in his life. And he found himself in a prison cell and had heard the gospel several times. And his brother came to actually see him and shared the gospel with him again. And he looked at his brother and he said, there might be some Jesus out there, but there's no Jesus back here. And it was a violent place at the old ward, really overcrowded. But, it was a seed that was planted. And one night in his jail cell, in the darkness of the night, he prayed to receive Christ. Yeah. And that's where his ministry began, and started a ministry called YCAP, working with youth and troubled youth in Nashville, and did that for many years and took a sabbatical. And a few weeks left in that sabbatical, he goes to visit one of his former students that had found himself in some trouble. And he went to go visit him, and he wasn't there. And a guy said, "Hey, are you the guy that talks to the kids?" And he'd spent some time with him, and when he walked out, that was when God said, "This is what I want you to do." Yeah. And so 25 years ago, they started going into prisons, and that was really what Men of Valor was. It was a discipleship program, really just almost a theological track. I mean, you spend almost a year We had a section, we called it the Jericho Project. We had a section in the jail here in Nashville where men would come and they would stay for a year. Mm-hmm. But what we began to notice is that we would spend all this time giving them almost a seminary degree, right? And then they would get out and there was no place to stay.
Right. Yeah.
No job. Yeah. How are you going to be successful?
Yeah.
And recidivism rate across the nation is between 45 and 65, and even in Tennessee, it's stated right around 50 to 60%. And so then we really started to focus on the reentry side of things.
That was that missing link there. Needed something in that place, didn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I love that it started from a passion of someone who had gone through some struggle and tried to help people going through struggle. A lot of times that's how God, he doesn't cause those things to happen to us. We make those choices, but he's such an amazing God. He can take the mess of our lives and transform it into a way he can use us to do some really good things. And I see that happening with Men of Valor, with that story. And you've told me a little bit about your story as well. And obviously God can take that mess and make a real ministry out of the mess that we've been through in our lives.
He does. I always say that God doesn't waste a hurt.
Yeah.
So when we're hurt and we come to him with a willingness to say, God, will you help me? Will you help me walk on this journey? And that's where God begins to move. And that's what we love. Men of Valor is in 5 prisons in the Middle Tennessee area, and then we're in 5 prisons in Knoxville. And what's amazing is when a man is released from prison, he has a little bag with, some letters and the clothes that he was arrested in.
Right.
And we get to pick them up right there. Meet them right, at that moment of, you have to choose a path.
Yeah, it's a crisis moment, a critical moment for what steps do you take next, right?
Yeah. And then they spend the next year on our campus here in Antioch. So we have 26 acres here in Antioch. It's called Valor Ridge.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're driving by and then you go up there and you're like, this is a sanctuary. All of a sudden I went to a different country, But when the man gets out, the first 30 days is just a pause. And so we want them to be able to breathe spiritually and get used to the spiritual side of things. So they start the Bible reading then. We start Bible classes. And for instance, two of the classes we have, one of them is just assurance of salvation.
Yeah.
When you've been living a life in direct opposition to God, sometimes it's hard to understand the grace.
Yeah.
But it's all built on grace. I mean, his love was fixated on a cross many years ago.
We're all dependent on that. There's no other way.
Yeah, it's unmerited favor.
Yeah.
Can't do anything to gain it, so you can't do anything to lose it. And so we try to walk through that with them. And then another important class is put a word on it. And so what we allow them to do is every Tuesday morning, anybody can come. You come around 7 a.m. up at the Valor Ridge, and we have them bring their problems, their struggles. And then someone on staff or someone in the room says, here's what Scripture says about that.
Right.
So we put the word to the problems that are happening in their heart, and I want to say this while it's on my mind, we don't see Men of Valor as a program. Now, academia has to put things out, and it is a reentry facility. We want to teach them a way of life.
Yeah.
Right? How to have a spiritual rhythm that's conducive to spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So that they can go on being givers in the community and not takers, that they may plug in at church here, right?
Yeah,
and be at Lakeshore Christian Church, being an active member here, So we don't want them to be so dependent on us that they don't learn the skills they need to be successful.
Absolutely. It's an area that I know, having it here in Antioch, I remember when it was being built and all of that, and some people were a little concerned, I'm sure, in the area, having that next door. But man, what better thing to have to redeem lives and to turn these things around? It's amazing to me, in a country as blessed as our country is, how many men we have in prison who've made bad choices. That's why they're there. Who, if given this chance, given this help, just being exposed to what God can do and hearing from others that God's done that in their lives, how much life transformation occurs and how much more, like you said, they go back into society giving back to society, contributing to the good of society. What better thing could we have in any community than a place where that's happening? Right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times, and this was me before I came on staff at Men of Valor, what I didn't know was that 98%. So I'll throw out stats here. That's because, every man who goes to prison gets a number on their back. So that's one thing about this ministry. We have real stats. These are real numbers. 98% of people who go to prison get out.
Right.
So the problem is that they don't get out and they go to your grocery stores, their kids go to your schools, their grandparents. I mean, they get out of prison.
Right.
And so the question is are they going to get out and repeat those same mistakes?
Yeah.
Are they going to get out and continue to be takers? And so what we want to do is say when they get out, we want to show them a new way of life. And it's a slow walk. Yeah. That first 30 days is all counseling. It's all, and it's a lot of, we want to get them acclimated. So we take them to the doctor. They may need medication, because they've got to be able to work, and so we try to get them ready and set in a position to where they can work. So day 31, they all have full-time jobs. We eliminate two big obstacles. Well, I guess there's a bunch of them, but one is, you got to have a place to stay that's safe. You got to have food in your belly. And then you need a job. Yeah. Well, we have 26 job partners. Anybody listening that has a business that may say, hey, I need a couple of guys. Well, listen, people beg us for our men because we provide transportation. So we can guarantee they'll be there, and we can guarantee we'll pick them up.
And that's huge right now. It is. Just
right?
getting people to show up, right?
Getting people to show up. Yeah. So people love that about us. And that's where the biblical side, the relational discipleship, moves to the afternoon. So they'll work 40 hours a week. In the afternoon, they'll come home, and we have different classes that they go through, recovery classes, biblical manhood stuff, budgeting stuff, and just trying to walk alongside of them and show them what it's like to be a follower of Christ. Yeah. And there may be someone who's listening who's saying, well, how can I get involved? It sounds like y'all got everything figured out. Well, here's the thing. This is really built on the back of volunteers. Okay. We have several hundred volunteers every year from churches all across Nashville. And one of the ways that you can volunteer is what we call a mentor. And so what we want to do is have someone that's kind of outside of our bubble, right? That they can just walk with them. We do training just to get you equipped and show you how to do it. And mainly what it is, it's a meeting or a phone conversation once a week. You check in, you see how they're doing, what's going on, or it's like, hey, no, you don't want to buy a car right now, or you want to get this used car, stuff like that. And I was meeting with a guy, and he said, Adam, I've never had a problem with drugs or alcohol. I can't be a mentor. And I'm like, hey, listen, I've been working with men for 14 years, right? And I have yet to call somebody that said, he called me and said, Adam, I'm about to snort cocaine, or I'm about to drink a beer. No, they call me and say, my boss is a jerk, right? It's how to deal with
relatable
life.
Everyday stuff.
How to walk with them through life on life's terms. Yeah, and anybody can do that. Yeah, anybody can listen and open their heart and share the truth that they know from Scripture.
Yeah, man, I love that, because I do think sometimes people think they can't help unless they've gone through that same struggle, but it's not. It's not that. The principles of God apply no matter what your background is or circumstances are. Yeah. So the more you can show them how that's lived out in everyday life, the better. Well, walk us a little bit through, you said you're in prisons. All right. So how would this process work? So you go into the prison and you're teaching and discipling, I guess, there in the prisons. And then how do you identify, or how do they go from there and transition to maybe coming to the Antioch facility and be a part of that?
That's a great question, Randy. I always use the funnel, right? We go into the prisons and we have more of like a church service where there's music and there's teaching, and then that's the big funnel. That's the big place where we're casting a wide net. We're sharing the gospel. We're actually in every prison in the state of Tennessee digitally. So we have a Valor Life TV show. We have an app where a lot of materials are at, and so it's like, hey, anybody can get to know who Jesus Christ is this way. Right. And then out of those opportunities, we connect with people who are going, hey, I want more. I want to know more. And so that next step is discipleship. Right. So that's where we have many volunteers that go in. You can go in on through Zoom, or you go in personally, and those groups meet once a month.
Okay.
I mean, once a week, and they go through the entire from Genesis to Revelations through the Bible, and then out of those classes and those groups that we offer, men will say, "Well, I'm getting out," or "I don't have a plan," or couldn't. And so, ideally, we want someone to come to that big service, be in our D group,
and then get to that.
Yeah, maybe doing some one-on-one with some of our prison ministers, and then those are the guys that we pick up.
Yeah, I love that. It's where they're seriously wanting it too, because until they want this. You can't force it on anybody. They have to decide this is what they want for their lives. And that funnel is where it starts, the big part, where they hear the message, they get to know Christ and what Christ has done for them. Then they can start making those decisions about, well, where do I want to go in my life now?
Absolutely.
What they do with Jesus is the start, right? It's got to start there, because if they're ready to accept His lordship in their lives, then you can go further in the process at that point. I love that.
Our missions, Tommy Mathis, he meets with guys all over the state all the time, and one of the common phrases he says is this is going to be the hardest year of your life.
Yeah,
it's not everything I'm saying. You may be listening and say, "Oh, my brother, my cousin, my uncle, somebody's in prison, and man, they don't want to have anything to do with God. Men of Valor be perfect." The thing about it is you like you said, it's the hardest thing they're ever going to do. There has to be a little bit of willingness.
Yes.
God takes a little mustard seed of faith and grows a giant.
You don't have to be all the way there yet, but there's got to be that openness.
I'm open to following a pathway that's different than I have before.
Yeah.
I always use the phrase "cease fighting." Yeah. That's when you know somebody's ready. When they say, "I'm done fighting," like Jesus said, "I came for those who know they're in need of a physician." Right?
Yeah, right.
They know they need to go to the doctor. They know they need help.
It's like you asked the man, "Do you want to get well?" You have to decide.
Yeah, absolutely.
So surrender is a word that encapsulates what it really is. But men don't like the word surrender. But cease fighting, I like that.
Yeah, that's what I say. Cease fighting.
Yeah. Well, I know that we've talked a little about already the different services that you offer there. Let's talk more about the village there. I know that's where if they come out of prison, that's like a transition place where they can live and be a part of all that you're doing there. So what's the setup there? Is it like dorm housing? What do you have there?
Yeah, so, man, when you pull up on that campus, David Miller is in charge of all of our facilities, and David has done golf courses and beautiful facilities all across the state. And so when you pull up, you're like, is this a golf course, or is this some kind of clubhouse that I'm going to? And it's beautiful.
Yeah. So
we have duplexes where there's 8 men on bottom and 8 men on top. And that's where they stay for the first 6 months.
Okay.
So it's a little more. They're set up where like the bottom of the duplex has everything that you need: the kitchen, the living room, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And after the 6 months, they're able to go to what we call apartments. And so that's where there's just 4 guys in those apartments, and it's a little more spacious, a little more privileges and so forth. But when you
still on the campus there,
there, and then we have so many partners for when men graduate that we help them get an apartment if they're wanting to stay locally as well. So we have a big alumni program, and it's just beautiful. We're right now we're in the process of building a ministry center. So we have around 93 guys on campus right now, and so we're in a big capital campaign where we want to build a big ministry center, because if you go on there, you'll drive up and you'll see, man, this is beautiful, and you'll see all these beautiful buildings, and then on the back you'll see about 10 different trailers, and you're like, is this a trailer? Did you put a trailer park on the top of it? We didn't, but that's where we have all of our classes.
Okay.
Because we have so many classes and so many men and so many volunteers. So that's what the ministry center is going to be about, is having a place where everybody can come and do all the things they need to do there. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's good to have it all in one place. And I know when we're trying to help people as churches, it's good one of the things we run into a lot of times is when they're not in prison, but we're trying to help them out in the community, they have to go 10 different places to get 10 different services, to get help in 10 different ways. But there you've got it all on one campus. And I love that it can all be contained there. And you can do, I think, more of the total life work and transformation that needs to occur when you have it all in one place like that. I love that. Well, when you, as they get near to the end, like you said, but even before they get to the end, now, at what stage is it that you connect them with the job again?
So after the first 30 days, so we want them to be able to kind of pause and rest and make sure that, do you have a driver's license? Oh, well, if you don't have a driver's license, do you have a birth certificate? Well, if you don't have a birth certificate, you can't get a driver's license. So there's all these things that they need before they're able to go to work.
Yeah. And that's one of the hardest things for people transitioning out is the living space and then the job, being able to do that and still eat and live at the same time, So this ministry is I think, certainly God directed for life transformation to happen in the most positive way possible. If people are listening and they want to say, all right, well, let's back up just a minute. How is this funded? Tell us a little bit about that. How do you fund all of the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Real quick before we get into that, I want to also mention that we have a family ministry too. So if a man comes on campus and he has a spouse or a significant other that has children, then they immediately become a part of our family ministry. And so we send something to them every month, to the children and to the moms. And so there's a lot of maybe women listening going, oh, well, this is Men of Valor. How am I going to be a part? Well, we have a lot of moms, single moms, struggling moms, moms with kids who are waiting for their husband to come back, and they're looking for home churches as well. And so we try to partner churches that are in the same zip code with them. And so that's a whole ministry that we do that we're very excited about, very proud of. And
that's another huge piece of the puzzle for a lot of these guys is they've got families there that they're trying to reconnect with and reestablish and take care of their families, know their families are okay, and the family wants to know he's okay. Everything, you're right.
And that's a pressure. They feel that pressure of having to do that. And you would think, man, you have these big, strong guys that have maybe committed, different crimes, and they'll tell you, man, it's one of the most scariest things is getting out of prison because most of them have nothing. I mean, they don't even have a driver's license. Yeah. Can you imagine someone just dropping you off?
And now what do you do?
What are you going to do? Where you can't live there, you can't live there. And so, anyways, it's that is what is so impactful to me since I've been. When you ask me about funding, is just people see that need. And then almost all of our funding, the majority of our funding comes from private donors. Okay. So just guys and men and women who said, I see this, I believe in this, I'm watching the change. And so I mentioned in the beginning about the recidivism rate. And so something that we're very, very proud of is that the men who complete our year-long program, if they go through the entire program for the whole year, less than 15%, if we stay around the 15% mark of them reoffend. So the national average is 75.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge difference.
And it's just it's a testament to the power of Jesus Christ.
It is.
And community and all the principles that the scriptures teach. And so I think, Randy, when people hear that, people want to get behind it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to support something, you want to see that it's a good return on the investment, so to speak. Where it's being used well and it's getting good results. And I love that you can show the numbers. That's important to some people that might be considering, being a part of that, helping out financially with that. They want to see that it's really doing some good. Yeah.
And you think about this, one man, so there's hundreds of men, but let's just say one man, you change his life. He comes out with a job. His family's being ministered to. They come back together. You think about his children. Yeah. All the children, all the people that are around those children. And you change the trajectory of one man's lives, it impacts the community. Well, every year, hundreds of men come to our facilities and come to our campus. And so we're changing the trajectory through the power of Jesus Christ, all glory to him. But we get to be a part of that. And so whether or not, you give, this ministry is going to impact you. Yeah. If you're in this community, no doubt, because men are coming back here and they're either reoffending or they're not getting caught and they're being a part of the problem, or they're a part of the solution.
Yeah.
So when you join us, you can join us through praying or you can join us through giving. You're going to be a part of changing your community.
That's great. Yeah, I love it because especially when a family's involved and the family is restored and put back to a healthier place, it breaks a cycle because so many times when you look at the stats, for a lot of the kids of men in prison, if those men don't get this transformation, then the cycle can often be repeated through the kids and everything too.
Yeah, Randy, this is a stat I don't like to share, but prison is an evil place. Yeah. It's not a place you want to spend a holiday or a birthday, right? It's a tough place. And even though everyone knows that, society knows that, the stats, I don't know what the newest one is, but the one that we're saying, and the last one we checked, is 70% of children. So 7 out of 10 who have a parent that's in prison will one day enter a prison or a jail. Man. So 7 out of 10 kids, because the dad is so influential, they will follow them into one of the most horrible places there is. Yeah,
it just shows you the impact that a father can have, good or bad. Right,
yes, sir.
That potential is there for the good too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And when their life gets changed, it goes through the whole family. And I'm so thankful for the work that you're doing there. So if you have listeners that would like to find out more or would like to maybe get involved with volunteering or supporting financially, what would be the best next step for them to take?
Yeah, I think to go to menofvalor.org, watch some videos, watch some of the content, take a look at it, and get more familiar with. You can select volunteer right at the top. There's donate, volunteer, and a couple other things. But it tells you all the different ways you can get involved. Yeah. Another way is just to pop by on campus. Right up here, it's 419 Valor Way in Antioch, and people can come by anytime, take a look. We give tours all the time, and just come see us. Come see what God's doing. And and if you're listening and you are thinking about a loved one that you have, if you go on the website, there's a place there for admissions, and you can fill out the form. It's an extensive. There's 2 things that are extensive that we don't apologize about. One is the filling out the form to possibly be a part of the ministry, and then when it comes to volunteering, we want to make sure that you are equipped. And there's a forms, there's videos. We do a lot of training because we want you to feel great. And pastors, I'll tell you this, pastors love volunteers that come to Men of Valor because we really train them how to disciple people.
I love it. Yeah. So, that's the key. And I think that's an area where the church worldwide, we all need to be more focused and intentional about discipleship. So that training to do that is one of the areas that churches have the hardest time with, getting people to do that, be involved in that, and be trained for that. So you guys are doing a lot of that for us, and that's great. I love
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Well, Jesus, he had 12. He spent 36 months with 12 men, and then he had 3 that were close. I mean, he modeled that relationship and how important it is to walk. A lot of times we spend all the time thinking about his public ministry, so forth, but all his time was spent in the
majority
private.
Was in private with those guys, discipling them, and they turned the world upside down. So
absolutely,
there's great value to it. Well, I want to thank you, Adam, for being here with us today. I know we could talk more. You've got a lot more. I might have you come back again sometime. And
absolutely,
I encourage all of you. I think we'll put that link to the website in our show notes today. If you can look there, or just Google Men of Valor, and I'm sure you could pull it up that way. And check out their website. They've done a great job with that. You can get a lot of information and maybe set up a visit over at the campus. That would be a great thing for you to do. So thanks again, Adam.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Well, before we go today, I wanted to update you on a few things going on here at Lakeshore. This is a busy time of year, of course, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of that. We just got past Thanksgiving, and it goes full speed right into Christmas. We want to thank everybody, first of all. We partnered with Smyrna Elementary School at our Smyrna campus, and we partnered with Youth for Christ here at the Antioch campus to do ornament trees, where we sponsored some families that needed some help for Christmas, families that they identified. And you guys stepped up, and all the ornaments were taken, and we got everybody covered. And so those gifts are going to be wrapped and delivered, and we just need some help getting them wrapped and delivered now. So if you're looking for a way to serve during the holidays, this coming Sunday, December the 4th, from 6 to 8, they're going to be wrapping presents down at the Smyrna campus that'll be used to take to those families. And then Wednesday, December the 7th, from 6 to 8 p.m., they'll be doing that here at the Antioch campus, wrapping those gifts to go out. And then we'll need some help, some people to deliver those gifts on Saturday, December the 17th. If you have a vehicle and you can do this, this will be a big help. We just meet here at the campus, at the Antioch campus that morning. They give you the addresses to go deliver to. So it's a great, rewarding thing to be able to do. I'm telling you, it'll bless you as much as it blesses the families that are getting the gifts when you go out there and help with that. So if those dates work for you, either of those dates to help out with the wrapping or delivery, we appreciate your help with that. In case you missed it, last Wednesday, as a matter of fact, we have a partnership with Thrift Smart Thrift Store here in Nashville, and they have now put in an indoor donation bin here at the Antioch campus. So if you've got clothing or shoes or things like that you want to donate, we love the partnership with Thrift Smart. For all the donations that we give as a church, they give us back Thrift Smart gift cards that we can use to bless people here in the community. When they have needs, they can go shop there at the store. And I know they partner with Men of Valor as well. Men of Valor gets gift cards there on a regular basis. When those guys need clothes for work and just to be doing things they need to do, they can go there and shop as well. Yes. So that's a great partnership there as well. So just plan on bringing those clothing donations there. We're also collecting hats, scarves, gloves, things like that for the cold weather. We have a ministry to those experiencing homelessness right now, and those items will be used to help and bless those people. So you can bring those items to the lobby at the Antioch campus. We have a donation area for that as well. If you've got high schoolers, we have a convention coming up called the Tennessee Christian Teen Convention, January the 6th through the 8th, but you need to get them registered in advance. You can do that on our website at lakeshorechristian.com, or if you're at one of our campuses, you can register on the kiosk at either of our campuses there. This coming Sunday, December the 4th, we begin a new message series called The Heart of Christmas. You know, we hear in our culture all the time, well, Christmas is all about this or all about that. And they're good things. You know, it is about kids. It's about families getting together. It's about giving gifts to others. But we all know at the heart of Christmas is more than that, right? The heart of Christmas is Jesus and God's decision before the foundation of the world that he would send us the Messiah, the Savior, to redeem us from the curse of sin. And Christmas, we need to be focusing on what's really at the heart of it. So starting this Sunday, we're going to be looking at the hope that's at the heart of Christmas through the coming of Jesus, the advent of the Messiah. We hope you will join us throughout the month of December as we look more at the different elements that are part of the heart of Christmas, what it's really all about. So we encourage you to invite family, friends, neighbors, coworkers to join us as we continue to connect, grow, and serve here at Lakeshore Christian Church. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.